After the liberation of Kurakhove at the beginning of the year, one of the Russian command's further goals for the winter campaign was the elimination of AFU positions west of the city. By January 10th, Russian troops had completely liberated Petropavlivka and 𝐔𝐤𝐫𝐚 on the northern flank of the Andriivka direction. On the southern flank, the Russian armed forces, relying on Zelenivka, came close to the outskirts of 𝐷𝐲𝐫. As a result, the enemy grouping near 𝐑𝐻𝐻 was partially encircled. The Russian troops were preparing to start eliminating this pocket. For this, they needed to cut the enemy's supply routes through 𝐷𝐲𝐫. During January, Russian troops gradually advanced toward Andriivka. Taking this village, located almost 100 meters above 𝐷𝐲𝐫, would allow them to establish fire control of the only supply route for the partially encircled AFU group. At the same time, fighting continued in the pocket itself. Russian troops were gradually pushing the enemy out of the fortified positions that had previously been part of the Kurakhove defense belt. Competent attacks by the Russian armed forces enabled the splitting of Ukrainian units' positions, creating an inner ring of partial encirclement. In the first half of February, Russian assault groups reached the center of Andriivka. Simultaneously, to the north of the village, the Russian armed forces also pushed back the enemy, bringing up their right flank. In fact, by this point, the Russian command's goals of taking fire control of the supply road through Kostiantinople had already been accomplished. Ukrainian units began to experience serious problems with the transfer of troops and supplies needed to hold the defense in the 𝐷𝐻𝐻 area. By mid-February, the partially encircled enemy group's condition became critical. Thanks to the effective work of Russian UAV operators and constant pressure from the Russian armed forces, AFU units were almost completely cut off from supplies. During one of the attacks, Russian assault troops fully closed the encirclement ring around Ukrainian units south of 𝐷𝐻𝐻. Some of the AFU units retreated to the west, while the rest either surrendered or were destroyed. The enemy's defense was destabilized after the rapid loss of positions east of 𝐷𝐲𝐫. Over the next week, Russian troops finally eliminated the pocket and liberated the settlement. On February 21st, footage appeared online showing the raising of battle banners and the Russian flag in all parts of the village. Its liberation put an end to the fighting in the Kurakhove defense belt, which lasted more than a year. By the end of February, the Russian armed forces had completely knocked the enemy out of Andriivka and occupied several key positions to the north of the village. At the same time, to the south, the advanced groups of the Russian armed forces reached the outskirts of Kostiantinople, with fighting still ongoing. The next targets of the Russian command are likely to be the already mentioned Kostiantinople and Oleksivka, located to the west. The liberation of the latter will open the way to Dnipro region for the Russian armed forces.